Brent here with ProPride Industries. Let's see if we got it lined up. So he's got a camera, so you can probably do a pretty darn good job. We've got our install complete here. We're all hitched up and we're ready to take off. Beautiful. I'm going to take you for a little bit of a ride.
Hello everyone, this is David Jameson coming to you live from ProPride Industries, the home of the ProPride Hitch. We have a lot of good stuff for you today, so I'm happy that you tuned in. And what we're going to bring to you, I will have a couple announcements, which the announcements today, I want to read a couple things to you you're going to find interesting. We're going to have a question and answer session. I'm going to interview the production manager, the plant manager. We're going to learn some more about how the hitch is actually made and why the ProPride hitch is so dang solid and such a wonderful benefit to trailering. And of course, I'm going to give you a special offer, and that's going to be for watching ProPride TV. So thank you very much for joining in. And to get you started, don't forget that we're offering, we have right now a $1,000 spending spree that's going to be, we're going to draw for it on March 4th. And the way you enter is you like, follow, oh, I'm sorry, what are they? Like, comment, and share this episode. So if you like, comment, and share, you are automatically entered. You can enter every week. And I think there's roughly 14 weeks left between now and March 4th. So feel free to enter every week, and we really appreciate that you do share these. So I'm actually standing in front of one of our robotic welders, and we're going to go into that in depth when I interview Nick Mishler, who is our plant manager. But next thing I want to mention to you for announcements, because here at ProPride, there's a lot of guys working their tail off back here, and they don't always get the props for the work that they do. So I just want to read a couple of reviews that just came in, and this isn't meant to. We're not bragging, and I'm not saying, hey, look at me or anything like that. This is more for you guys just to hear, so if you haven't read any of them online, you can hear them, and also the guys that watch around here, they can hear something good about what they've been doing. Cameraman, can you quit your itching and moving around? Because I can't, thank you. The cameraman is my son, so if I ever chew him out, then you know why. I have the right to. But I don't know, all of a sudden he started itching his forearms or something. But we're good now. So Daryl Plemons wrote to us in his review, just returned from our second camping trip since installing the ProPride. Today's 200-mile journey home included 15 to 25 mile an hour crosswinds. I was able to maintain 70 to 75 miles per hour in these conditions, which is a huge difference compared to the life before ProPride hitch. Pulling a 38-foot, 10,000-pound travel trailer with a 1,100-pound tongue weight with an F250 diesel. Thank you, Daryl. We really appreciate that. Matt Hopper wrote, well, he's got a long one here. Okay, so he listed all his stats, but he said he just left Denver in a snowstorm, crossed the vast plains of eastern Colorado and Kansas, and down from Kansas City into Arkansas. I've spent a great amount of time working on dialing in weights and heights, and can say that this is the best tow that I've ever had with certainty. I ran 65 to 70 miles an hour the whole way after getting past the snow, and passed a few semis, got passed by lots of them, and even had some gusty winds for part of the initial drive to out past Colby, Kansas. While I could feel a slight suck and subsequent push from the bow wave of a semi, it barely moved my rig at all. So he was saying, so is that what he's saying? I've got some other people here that know a little bit more about it than me. Is that he's saying, so as they drove by and you feel that suck, it didn't even move his trailer. Is that what he's saying? Barely at all. Wow, amazing. Oddly enough, other pickup trucks and vans tended to create more of a jostle, maybe due to the speed at which their wave passed, but I don't know. I flash all semis passing me to ensure that they know it when it's safe to get over, and found many would do the same for me. If you've never driven a Kansas road, you're really missing out. What Kansas lacks is scenery It truly makes up for a magnificent road. Well, hey, I'm learning something myself. I've never thought about the roadways in Kansas. Felt like driving on glass most of the way. Missouri isn't too bad either. Colorado had some issues with truck eater potholes and ruts galore. Then again, we have different weather there. Matt Hopper not only gave us a review on the Hitch, but he gave us some tips on traveling in that area. But Matt, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. So now we're going to walk over to another welder, and I'm going to interview Nick. Now, just so you know, Nick has been begging me. He's been saying, please put me on camera. I love to talk to people. Actually, he's not, so cut him some slack. He is our plant manager. And just to tell you a little bit about Nick, his twin brother also works here. What's Wes's title? Well, we'll come over there.
Well, yeah, I'll come on over. Yeah, my twin brother and I both work here. We've actually been the ones personally welding these hitches for the last decade.
Just hold on a second. I asked you what his title is.
No, that's a little backstory. So
I'm going to get into your backstory.
Yeah, so him and I have been sharing those responsibilities of welding the hitches for you guys for the last, it was July of next year will be 10 years. And then moving forward with the growth of the company and giving you guys better product, we kind of share responsibilities around here, from make sure the guys have stuff to do, to maintaining the building, programming, engineering, all the fixtures, any new designs. We listen to a lot of comments on Facebook, integrating a lot of new products that Dave's trying to produce to you guys and show you guys. And we'll go over this robot and I'll show you a couple of things. We have some fixtures loaded up and some stuff ready for go.
So just so you know, Nick and his brother Wes are not just general welders. They actually have, and I've never even heard of this stuff. What's that called, Instagram?
Yes.
I'm not overly familiar with it, but from what I understand, there's thousands of people that actually follow welders on there, and they're pretty popular welders. Now, I always thought it was like for bikinis and all that, but I guess welders go on there too. So he's the most, now you've never worn a bikini on Instagram,
no,
right?
I try not
okay.
to.
So let's go over here and check this out now. And remember, the cameraman is my son, so I can chew him out anytime I want. So here we are. This is I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about it, but being more of a lay person, I just want to interject some questions. First thing we're going to see here is fixtures. So Nick, when you start telling us about it, give us the general makeup of this, what you call it, a welding cell or a robot, and what the fixtures work, and then what he and his brother went through to actually build the fixtures and start the process.
Yeah, so this is a Miller PerformArc system. We bought this system as a complete package. So it came with the robot, the power supply, everything you need to be able to weld with it. But it does not come with any fixturing. So when you have a part that you need to be welded on here, not only do you have to design a fixture to hold that part, you have to program it and go through all the process to get it into a production mode. So we are able to hit start and let this thing run, and let the operators run it. So what we have, if you want to come around the table here, I'll show you one of the very first fixtures we actually started with, which was the yoke. And the yoke, all our fixtures are, we try to design it so where when it's done welding on this side of it, you have a finished part coming off and you progress the next part to the next stage of that fixture. So they're all progression fixtures. And what a fixture does, it allows us to repeat this process every single time. So if you're not familiar with how tooling is and how you get these things to go in here, you have to design a fixture to do that. So
let me interject a question here. So would you say a fixture is kind of like a specific vise?
Yes, it's like it's a tool, right?
Okay.
You have to have that right size tool to be able to take off a bolt. You have to have the right fixture to hold that part.
Okay.
So every aspect of this, of every single part, has to be held in a way where it's not going to move. Right?
Okay.
So you get more consistency. Things are welded in the same spot every time, because if it's not fixtured in the right spot, it's going to weld in the same spot. The welder knows where to weld, but if we're not holding that part in the right spot, it's going to completely miss.
So it's like a customized vise, I guess. For a lay person, that's what I would relate it to.
Yep, they'll customize to the part that you're trying to hold.
There you go.
Yep.
So now, when you're talking about robotic welders, can we walk right in here and just look at the robotic arm here?
Yeah, so to describe this cell is for high volume production. So it is designed to have two different sides. As you can see, there's a fixture on the interior of it where the robot's at, and we'll be working on it. And then we have the one we are standing in front of. So the one we're standing in front of out here is where the operator would remove that welded part, reload new parts in there, progress the part to the next stage. and then you're able to, while it's welding, inspect that part you just pulled off, stack it, and you're ready to go. And when this thing finishes, you can see how this is a partitioned off wall. This will turn 180 degrees and go back to work. So this never stops welding. We're able to increase our volumes, and by the end of this week, we'll have all our core products on it, and then our goal is to have 0 delays from an order to it going on a truck out the door, because we're going to be stockpiling parts.
Now, just so you know, we do have hand welders here, so we're not one of those companies where we don't honor good old human labor.
Yeah.
We have plenty of, and one of these, I already asked a couple of them if they wanted to be interviewed, and they're like, no, thank you. One of these days I'll sneak up on them. The hand welding's back here, manual welding. But what I'd like Nick to mention is, what's the benefit of a robot welding versus a human?
There's multiple benefits, more from a, when you look at a higher end business and you want to keep the product moving, you're not ever going to be delayed by somebody being ill or taking a break or even going out to lunch. You can this will keep going. Some of these run times will go up to 15 minutes just to weld one part. So it's always being able to do it. And you know, when you get interrupted and you're working on a part, this happens all the place. I've been in the industry long enough, you get a break and you move on, that part's half welded now because you were interrupted. This doesn't miss a weld, period.
And then what about, I'm not a welder and I don't know anything about it. Is it common that 1 out of every 2,000 hand welds might not be as good as a robot, or what would you say?
I would say, so that you get some trades on and off. This still really relies on a lot of human factors. If you're not keeping your nozzle, your tip changed out, clean, this will not weld the same every time. If you're running out with wore out consumables, it will weld not very good. You might miss a weld, or I wouldn't say miss a weld, but miss the placement of that weld because the arc is able to wander because you have a wore out tip. So it does still have human factors in this. We do inspect everything.
That's what I was going to say.
Off. Yeah.
So once it comes back around, it rotates back around, the gentleman taking it off,
Yep.
will inspect it.
Yes.
And then that's what they're doing when I see them over there with the chisels.
Yep. So what they do is their goal is once it's rotated out and you have the welded side out, you will then remove the finished product out, set it aside, reload that whole fixture up, and have it ready so the machine isn't waiting for you. And while they have their time, they'll go through and inspect all the welds. There might be something that's a little off, they might have to touch up. It's pretty rare, but it's more when the consumables of the robot starting to wear out. And then that way you have the time. So while this is running, this operator is able to do the job of 3 people. The welder, the person loading the fixture, and the inspector, right? So you have 3 jobs in one when you're doing it over here.
Wow.
And yeah, so hand welding, you'd have to take 3 people to do that at that rate.
So before Nick demonstrates this, Nick, just mention briefly the quality, what all you guys go through to make sure that the quality of the hitch is repeated exactly the same every single hitch.
So starting from from any vendor that's given us parts, so because a lot of this stuff is vendor provided, all laser parts. We don't get it plasma cut, we don't get weld jet, we get it laser cut. It's the same every time. It's perfect cuts every time. We've worked with this company for many years. Same thing with the machining parts too. When we put them in here and we go through loading them up and the time we spent on the fixturing, there's no missing anything or loading. If it's going to be low or wrong, it's going to be very obvious, and the robot will collide with it, and then we have real issues. It will be almost next to impossible to supply a bad part. That's from a manufacturing standpoint, that's going to be bad to our customer.
And since the name is ProPride, we do pride ourselves on, we have very few, I can't even, never even heard of anything really breaking or malfunctioning.
No, and we try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt when it does, but a lot of times there might be some chain routing issues. And
user errors?
Yeah, some user errors. We may have had, a weld here and there, but out of the thousands of hitches that I've produced over the years, I cannot name one.
Oh. Well, hey, get ready. We're going to run a demo right now. This is pretty neat stuff. So watch what he's got to do.
So I'm going to walk around to the other side. I have to grab the pendant and to be able to control this. So why don't you come right here?
You want to go right here, Reed?
Yep.
Why don't you hold up the pendant so you can see it?
So this is what we call the pendant. This has all our lines of where we'll be traveling, every point that we will be traveling to. And what I'll be putting it in, I'll be putting in teach mode. I'm going to load the program. This will be our fixture 1. Okay, we're going to be running in test mode. I'm going to be turning the arc off. So this will move to all my points, and this is what I would do as we interchange fixtures, right? We have over 20, almost 30 fixtures that we have for all our parts. These are removable. We'll put new ones in, and this is something that I would do just to ensure the program I loaded, nothing shifted, and that all my points are being hit. And I'm going to roughly run through this. So. Now while this is running in this test mode with the arc off, all the movements are running at about 10% of the speed. So you might think this might be moving slow. Right now it's at about 10%. So when it's actually running in its full production mode, it will be about 100% faster than this.
So it actually moves 10 times this fast as it when it's, well, I thought it moved quicker when I've seen it.
Yeah, so while these safety doors are open, while we're running in this test mode, the movements will be slower. So this first stage is where it's tacking that part together. So it's moving to all these locations, it's pausing, it's putting tacks down. It will do some welding in this stage. And this is almost, I think it was around 350 points I had to place to be able to, just to do this first stage.
Pretty neat stuff. Just as a side note, everyone listening, when we first got these in, it was interesting. Nick and Wes would make us peace signs on plates just for practice.
Yep.
So you can program almost like art, like welding art. Well, that seems good to me, Nick.
Yeah,
Do you have anything you want to...
I'm gonna pull it out of here. We're gonna stop it right here. I'm gonna close out of this file, and what I have to do is when I'm running in this, and when we want to go into our full production mode, I gotta make the robot go to its home position. So the arm is out of the way, and then we can put this into production mode. And I can show you guys exactly how it is. When
we get to see it live?
Yeah, we're gonna run it.
All right.
We are ready to go.
You guys are in for a treat today. This is kind of like behind the scenes at Willy Wonka's place.
All right, we're in our home position. We're going to shut these safety doors.
The cameraman even shuts doors.
Yeah, that's okay. Why don't you come on over here and I'll show you guys exactly what we do when we go into production mode. So, this is our teach pendant. Everything we do on all the points we set, everything we do is done with this device. So I'm going to switch it to auto. I'm going to turn the robot on. I'm going to turn to auto, and this is going to rotate in. So we want to look at this. This will rotate in. Whatever side we have out will rotate in, and now it is going to work. So what you're seeing here is that first stage that we're actually watching. We're in test mode.
Well, good job. Why don't we bring it around here? I think we don't want to keep, I know there's probably a lot of welding fans out there, but you probably don't want to keep watching. Let's get on with some other stuff. But let's give a hand to Nick. Nick,
hey, thank you.
Good work.
Hey,
this guy, first time. I told him as soon as he goes through it once, he's going to beg me to get back on camera. So now, believe it or not, we got Brent again to answer a couple of questions. I asked Sean, and I keep messing with him. He does. One of these days I'm going to ambush him in his office and we will get him on camera. But right now, he's my old buddy, so I got to honor not wanting to be on camera. Let's put it that way. So thank you again, Nick. So we have a question of the week with Brent, and it has to do with choosing the proper hole. For those of you that have suffered damages by not choosing the proper hole, you know how important it is. So here he is going to tell you about it. That was a joke. We haven't had any damages by choosing the proper hole.
No, that's good. So, can you see this guy? I don't have it on the Hitch today. I thought I would just talk about it right here. So a common question is, man, which hole should I use? There's 3 of them. Why is there 3 holes? What do I need to do with these things? So realistically, all this is about is changing the angle, the maximum angle of the hitch itself. So what will happen is if you're at the very lowest hole here, it will actually hold us a little bit higher off the ground. Your spring bars, right? You get what you see? The spring bar is a little bit higher off the ground, but you're trading measurements here. So it's basically going to be an inch when it's all the way down on the frame. Your jack's already going to be basically the tension of an inch high as opposed to the middle one here. If you're on the upper one, you're going to be basically a -1. So it'd be a -1 start. So if you're up 7 inches, you'd actually only be up 6 inches and vice versa. So that's kind of how that works. But basically what this does is if it's on the lowest hole right here, you're going to be able to change your angle to the maximum amount of pitch upwards with the head, right? Because we talked about the wheelbarrow. These are your arms on those wheelbarrow handles, right? So the top hole will give you the maximum amount of pitch downward if you have that. So if you've got these things all the way down, it pitches that head upwards. So if you have an extreme hitch up situation where you need this thing to be a maximum tilt upward, you go in this upper hole. I mean, this is, you know, like ultimate crazy hooking up situation, or vice versa. If it's on the below hole, it's going to give you the most pitch upwards. So that's the deal.
So in layperson terminology that I would understand, it's basically the terrain determines.
Yeah. So let's give you for instance. So if your tow vehicle is coming up on your trailer, and your trailer is going to be kind of where it's angling down, which is fairly common. You necessarily wouldn't have to do the hole change, but if you know that you're going to have that every single time, maybe you would. That's going to give you a little bit more efficiency as far as hooking up. It gives you the most complete angle downward or upward. It can go up to 10 degrees up or 45 degrees down if you use the top hole or the bottom hole. But the middle hole is what we say to use most of the time. That's the one that's kind of neutral, and it's going to give you the most flexibility. So middle hole for everybody that's out there.
Awesome. So now you know
Simple enough.
You've got some tips on choosing the correct hole. Very important. Remember that. Thank you, Brent.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right.
Have a great New
Two
Year's,
good
guys.
dudes, huh? How about that, Nick? Doing stuff I don't even understand, but it's pretty darn neat. All I know is I see this stuff go out, and if one of these days we'll go back and we'll look at a brand new hitch, and I'm sure those of you that have them, you've seen them up close. But it's a real neat piece of work. It's almost like art. So let's come on over here. But first I'm going to check with, look at our production crew over here. Lazar, do we have any questions that came in?
No questions.
No questions. We're going to start trying to answer live questions. So if you type them in, Lazar will relay to us, and hopefully Brent or Nick or Wes are around, because you don't want me answering them. If you have questions on finance or business, you can ask me. But anyway, let's come on over here. So no questions that are live? Okay, so time for the weekly special. Let me get out of this, there we go, this way. So the weekly special. So at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see the code, the checkout code to use. And it's very simple, 2020. And until midnight of December 31st, you can use this code for a discount. And we're gonna allow you to use this code until January 8th at midnight. Friday, a week after the New Year's Eve, you can still put in 2020 code, 2020 in the code, what's it called? Discount. What's that? Yeah, but what's that area called on the checkout? Coupon code, discount code? Yeah. Okay, so put in 2020 and you'll still get 2020 pricing. So we're extending our 2020 pricing for an extra week. All you have to do is put those numbers into the checkout. I'm not using the correct terminology. What the heck is that spot called that you fill out? The discount code section. Yeah, so, the cameraman's coaching me too, just so you know how your kids are. But Anyway, so that's it. Let me reiterate what we had today. We had a wonderful exhibition by Nick showing us how our welders work, how our robotic welders work. Brent taught us on how to choose the proper hole. We looked at some reviews. You know that we have a $1,000 raffle or drawing coming up for a $1,000 spending spree. All you have to do is like, share, and comment, and you're automatically entered. And you can maintain 2020 pricing for a week past the 1st. So that's what we have for you today here at ProPride TV. And it's about time that we start signing off. Don't forget to like, share, and comment, and use code 2020. This is David Jameson.
Hey, Brent here with ProPride Industries. Let's see if we got it lined up. So he's got a camera, so you can probably do a pretty darn good job. We've got our install complete here. We're all hitched up and we're ready to take off. Beautiful. I'm going to take you for a little bit of a ride.